community questions. We can give some space for community questions, and that can be about for anything you want to check in and ask the GX team. If you have any questions that you think about from the presentations, you could also bring those up. Just give a little space for that before we officially wrap up. Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, I have a question.
Cool.
How do you decide like the expectations that go into the package? Do you often get feedback? And specifically for the case of bias, which seems to be an issue of interest, are you planning on adding more of these type of metrics into your expectations? Because in the new advent of regulations and so on, it's probably a thing that most users will need for their applications.
That's a good question. Who's the best person to respond to that one?
I think I'll take a stab at it, and then Tal, if you're still here, I know it's late for you. You can help me out here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
For longer. Overall, I've been at GX now for almost a year, and a lot of our we're open source project. We're pretty community driven, so most of these come from the community. A lot of these ideas come from the community. If you look at the expectations, a lot of it are pretty kind of low level, like surround like data expect, right? Like the specific data to be between certain values, or not have no values. We haven't really looked at like how specifically like we'll address a use case like bias or something like that. So you really have to take it was kind of why I was asking the question a little bit earlier, like how do you kind of decide, how do you measure something is biased? If data is biased or fair is, I think right now you have to be the one to kind of understand how you actually break that into the expectations. But there's probably a longer history on how we started with the initial set of expectations. I don't know, Paul, you've been here longer than I have. Like, how do we kind of arrive at the set of like core expectations, and how the initial expectations come about?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. The original core expectations, I think, they've been here for a long time. But do you know we have a few like expectation packages that are around a given theme, and one of those packages is around ethical AI, but it's pretty sparse. I think there are just 2 expectations in there right now. It's definitely something that we would love more contributions for. I think right now we've gotten so many great contributions from the community that we've been really like looking at those and using that to help kind of steer which expectations are going to be added. And so that's what I would say. Like, if you have ideas for custom expectations around ethical AI, we would love contributions. That sounds like a great idea.
Thank you. I think it started at the level of the data itself, because there is always a specific task that you need to solve, or a specific use case. And sometimes what is data quality for one domain might not be necessarily for another. Sometimes it's just the data characteristics. It is difficult to define, I think, expectations to that level. You're doing a great work. I love it, XX.
That's great to hear. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Oh, go for it.
Sorry, just trying to figure out how to switch on my camera that you also can see me. In the meantime, I will explain my question. I'm working on Databricks and also on Azure ADLS. And I haven't figured out yet how to change the context of great expectations in a way that the data and the docs and also the YAML files and all the files are directly stored in the ADLS. Is that possible yet? I think I found here some mentions that the Great Expectations in conjunction with ADLS is currently not working because of the authentication problem.
I am not sure.
I'm not
about
sure
this
about
one.
the
Any bit of- oh, go ahead.
your GX project definitions. I do recall there was an issue with the ADLS, some sort of authentication pass through where where Azure, let's see, it's a security setting on Azure's end to where they only whitelist certain methods, and one of them that is used under the hood in GX is not on that, or sorry, allow list. I can look, yeah, I can look in GitHub. I'm not sure though about the context definition. That's where I don't know if that's something we'd expect to
Because you have
be
a
able to
parameter
store
in
on
the context
ADLS.
and where it says where you can store the files, so the docs and all the other artifacts, but I didn't find how to modify this path. I didn't find a method. I just can get the JSON directly and try to modify the JSON with Python code. But I think I hope that this is not the solution.
Yeah,
Just at the end, I want to use Great Expectations in Databricks. There's also the quick start, which works perfectly fine. It's at least possible to execute everything in Databricks in Python. But at the end, the docs are stored in the DBFS in Databricks directly, and I want to store them in the ADLS directly, and didn't figure out how to do it.
If the answer is a little more complicated, would this be a good candidate to be posted into support? I'm just checking in to see if there's things we need to follow up on.
Yeah, I think this is probably a question that's just better solved with some offline offline investigation. Although correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, we don't officially support Azure Databricks though. So yeah,
good call out.
I doubt if we have. I don't think we have, like you mentioned, Holger, any docs on storing the project definitions in ADLS versus DBFS, but it could be we have community members who have looked at this too. So yeah, I agree, Molly. This is probably to get wider attention. This is also a good candidate to post in community support, so we can take a look at it there.
And might I recommend? Oh, go ahead.
Or in Discourse?
I was just gonna say,
say or Discourse.
Great segue into reminding to post in Discourse. If you post in Discourse, then if other people have a similar problem later, they're going to be able to more easily find your answer in a search. So yeah, it would be great if you want to post that question in Discourse.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending this October community meetup. Thank you so much to Lavanya and to Miriam for coming on and joining us and presenting. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks again to all the community members that support the community and are active in both community support and contributions. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll have another meetup next month and hopefully see you then.